The following may contain offensive language, adult humor, and or content that some viewers may find offensive. The views and opinions expressed by any one speaker does not explicitly or necessarily reflect or represent those of Mark Radulich or W2M Network. Please listen with caution, or don't listen at all.
Hooray for Hollywood, where stars are living large, in mansions with their servants and their credit cards in charge, with fame that's fleeting, but the egos never change, where everyone's a genius, except the ones who really arrange. Hooray for Hollywood, where the scandals always sell, where every whispered secret is a new tabloid's tell. Oh, how we adore the endless red carpet galore. Hooray for Hollywood, where less is always more.
Yes, indeedy, sweetie. Less is always more here on Damn You Hollywood. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are listening to a Radulich Broadcasting premiere podcast, Damn You Hollywood. And here's your host, Robert Winfrey. Yay!
Hey, everybody. I have to start out with, because Mark reviewed The Critic here not too long ago. And we came to realize, because I watched the show and listened to the review, and Mark and I talked, and we realized if Jay Sherman, the lead character voiced by John Lovitz from The Critic, were the subject of some eldritch monstrosity ritual body horror nightmare that split him into two separate beings, yet equally still himself, it would be me and Mark. So, for the purposes of tonight, he's Jay and I'm Sherman. I will change my name back in a minute, but that just amused me to think about.
Genius, amazing, fantastic line. All right. Now that I've done that same John Lovitz bit, like that's the only thing he's ever done.
So, yeah, also joining us tonight, not the product of body horror, we have Alexis Hana.
Not yet, Dick.
I was like, when you bring Lovecraft to the equation, where the hell am I supposed to go from there?
Boy, if I had a nickel of every time I've been asked that. Anyway, what are we
You'd
talking
have
about
two
tonight?
nickels, but it's really weird that it happened twice on air.
You ain't kidding, sister. What are we talking about tonight?
Well, we are tackling the studio formerly known as Pixar, the former golden goose of the Disney empire. This was a studio that could do no wrong. No wrong could be done by Pixar. And then they fired Lasseter and Bird, and oof. It's been going downhill ever since. You get a few blips, but the trajectory has been negative. So we're talking about Elio.
Yes, sir. Elio is a 2025 American animated science fiction adventure film produced by Pixar Animation Studios for Walt Disney Pictures. Directed, eventually, by Madeline Sharafian and Domee Shi and Adrian Molina. And written by Julia Cho, Mark Hammer, and Mike Jones. A story by Molina, Sharafian, and Shi and Cho. Oh my god. Enough with the names already. The film stars the voices of Yonas Kibreab, Zoe Saldaña, Remy Edgerly, Brandon Moon, Brad Garrett, and Jameela Jamil. It follows an 11-year-old boy named Elio Solís, who accidentally becomes the intergalactic ambassador of planet Earth, like you do, after being beamed up to the Communiverse by aliens for making first contact. He must form new bonds with eccentric alien lifeforms and navigate a crisis of intergalactic proportions that involves the warlord father of an alien he befriended. Elio premiered at the El Capitan Theater in Hollywood, Los Angeles, June 10th, 2025, and was theatrically released on June 20th, 2025. And we will get into the money shortly. But Alexis, there are some interesting behind-the-scenes notes for this movie. Some discrepancies in trailers and other historical bits of information that Only you can explain to this audience. Only you have that kind of power. So please lead us in a discussion of this film's production history.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know only I have the IMDb app on my phone.
Only you are allowed to talk at the moment is more what he meant.
You may speak now.
Okay, so yeah, I doing a little research on this movie. I noted that the first teaser trailer that dropped for this in 2023 looked extremely different. We had Elio, we had the abduction, but it wasn't a case of please aliens come and get me. I'm trying to be abducted. No, wait, by aliens. That came out wrong. And looking into it, apparently Adrian Molina, who is listed as one of the directors and the one who came up with the original story, this was more to be an autobiographical style tale. I'm thinking more like what we got with Elemental, where the director kind of used the movie to discuss his story as an immigrant. This was meant more to discuss Molina's loneliness growing up and how accepted they became when they eventually went to Cal Arts. And the idea that was it Communiverse or Communiverse?
Universe.
Communiverse.
Look, the space hippies. Okay, just leave it at that.
Sure, why not?
Ain't no communism like space communism, yo.
So I've been told.
I think Pat just felt a shiver go down his spine with that.
Stop bullying my friend, you horrible human being. Leave that man alone. He's done nothing to you.
He's the one who freaks out about he's the one who still insists the movie Turning Red was about communism. But no, so
20%.
But yeah, that was originally what the story arc was going to be. Then we have Pete Docter, who is the CCO. Okay, what is a CCO? I know what a CEO is. It a CFO? What is a CCO?
Chief Creative Officer.
Is it creative or communications?
I was going to go with communications officer.
It might be communications. These days, it might be content. Who the hell knows?
I don't know. That's what he's listed as.
Communist? Let's go with that. Chief Communist Officer.
Okay, so Pete Docter, Pixar CCO.
Could be the Chief Cambodian in the office.
I've started something. Basically nerfed Molina's film.
Chief Cocaine Oligarch?
I'll allow it.
Saying that the money was not in these autobiographical tales. It was in something with more universal appeal. Hence why we got more now this story about this young boy who feels alone in the universe, because we all feel alone sometime in the universe. But this once again goes to show that Disney will not learn their fucking lesson that when you try to please everybody, it doesn't please anybody. Because frankly, their autobiographical tales like Elemental and Soul and the such may not be the biggest money makers, but those are what Disney and Pixar become known for. Those are the ones that last longer. Those are the ones that do better in the long run, especially through international distribution. And I feel that this shift was a really stupid idea by Mr. Chief Cambodian Officer.
I'm gonna push back on that a little bit. I don't want to get too ahead of myself. I don't want to do what I don't want to do, and that is talk about the craft like other people do way too soon before I give them their time to talk. However, William Shatner. No. This is a great movie. There's nothing wrong with what they did here. I think this is an unfortunate victim of the times. I think that this is coming after a long history, and I don't want to rehash all the things we've already talked about. So I wasn't gonna bring all of this up, but you're going in a direction, so now I have to push back with some of this. But I really don't want to spend too long and rehash every single idea we've already discussed. But we all three have documented the fall of Pixar. We have reviewed almost every single Pixar movie, if not every single one, for about a decade now. We've just in the last 5 years alone documented the fall, the beating Pixar has taken and the fall. We have talked to death about what COVID and the streaming wars did to Pixar, not the least of which what Disney did to its own brand. Like it sacrificed it to the goat god. You know, it is one of the Not since the AOL Time Warner merger have I seen a company mismanage one of their own brands this badly besides Lucasfilm. And coming in third, Marvel. So my point is,
In fairness, Marvel is at this point, Marvel has surpassed Pixar because Marvel's lost more money.
so yeah, my point is, this is a perfectly fine movie, and what they did with it was perfectly fine. And I think if they released it 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago, if they had released it somewhere in between like Coco and say, I don't know what came out in.
If you swap this with Soul, do they enjoy opposite reputations? Like, do they just because we're all very complimentary of Soul.
But
Yeah.
you're also saying that if it's switched with Soul, then Elio would be released direct onto streaming because of COVID.
Yeah, that's why Soul's not a great choice. Okay, let's for a moment live in the world where COVID never happened, but also what he said, reverse gears and put this with Soul and put Soul somewhere else.
But Soul
I
here
don't-
doesn't matter that much.
Yeah, really. I don't think that we're having this conversation, and I think this does just fine. I will say this, and this will be the last part of my dissertation here. I'm thinking about Chris Bailey because I did a whole TikTok on why this isn't working, and part of it has to do with tribalism. And again, we've kind of talked about it here and there. I summed it all up in the TikTok I did on this, but basically, there's such wide-ranging cultural backlash that we've reverted to cultural and ethnic tribalism, to where people now don't give anything a chance that doesn't meet every single one of their needs, which is not how this used to be. People used to be open to cross-cultural experiences. They're not right now. But when I got feedback on my TikTok, the most cited reason, besides the cost of movies, is prohibitively expensive, which is a funny idea to me.
It's not inaccurate though.
It's definitely one of the elements in the soup that's a problem. But the biggest thing was the lack of marketing on this movie.
Also a thing for this movie. That's true.
I think about Chris Bailey and his whole like tirade about Inside Out, and the more and more I've thought about his argument, the less and less of a tumor I get. And that is to say, his whole thing was something that has come up about the Marvel brand, which is it must be toyetic. And his argument was Inside Out was not toyetic. I haven't seen much in the way of Elio merchandise. I tend to think of marketing as just trailers. But as Chris has pointed out, you need toys, you need clothing, bedding. This needs to be everywhere. It needs to be Tickle Me Elmo. It needs to have deep penetration in the cultural marketplace, and this didn't. So if you didn't see the trailers, and I'm not kidding when I tell you people wrote in the comments, I didn't know the movie was out. I would have gone to see it.
Yeah, I've
seen that reaction a lot.
I was going to say, I was having flashbacks to when we reviewed Strange World, and the entire world said, there's a new animated film coming out. For the record, I'm actually going through Amazon right now looking for Elio merch, and they actually do have a decent amount. A lot of storybooks, picture books, a lot of T-shirts, coloring books.
Can we talk about that for a second, though? About how the death of brick and mortar stores, the mall-apocalypse has changed that, because while you're able to go on Amazon and cite a laundry list of merchandise, there's no walking by the store to see it anymore. There's no Disney store anymore. There's no, by and large, there's no, again, cultural marketplace event where you go to a place, you window shop, and you see, oh, the entire storefront is decked out in Elio. This must be the cool new thing. And there's your kid tugging your leg going, I want the squishy thing. This doesn't have that to help it.
I'm actually not seeing a lot of squishy things, mostly T-shirts and picture books. But the other problem is that this came out smack dab.
There's going to be the Glorden plushie.
Yes, thank you for picking up. Can always depend on Robert to run his route and get the ball without even seeing it.
No, I was just also saying it's like this is really the worst time for something original to come out, because it's abundantly clear that the marketing department in Disney said, okay, what are we going to market? We got Snow White, we got Lilo and Stitch, we got Fantastic Four, something original. Nope. It's like all of every penny of the marketing budget for Elio, I'm convinced they pushed into Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah,
It doesn't-
that's come up a few times where people say they spent all their marketing on Lilo and Stitch. Go ahead, Robert.
Well, there's two other things that complicate that process. If Disney had bit the bullet and released Snow White when they were supposed to, you have a lot less immediate baggage here. Like the fact that Snow White happened a couple of months ago.
Hang on, if this isn't the worst timeline, Snow White comes out when it's supposed to, Lilo and Stitch stays on Disney Plus, and Elio has free road. There's nothing in its way.
And it still struggles, I think, because of some of the aforementioned reasons, but it's not got roadblock after roadblock after roadblock thrown in its way like it seems to at the moment. This is a little bit of a craft thing, so I'm gonna try and keep this brief. But if you go through the storied filmography of Pixar, there are movies in this company's catalog that were very clearly like conceived, produced, and executed from start to finish with a singular vision.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's very clear.
And then there was The Good Dinosaur.
There's Brave and The Good Dinosaur and other stuff where there's just a lot of visible scars on the end product. And Elio is one of those that bears a lot of visible scars. Man, his eye patch doesn't even look the same from the trailers.
Alexis, was there anything else in terms of, other than your opinion of why it did or didn't do well, on the production side you wanted to get into?
Well, like I said, I was okay with this movie, but the idea of that this movie was originally supposed to be representative of the aliens were going to represent the different animators that this director met at Cal Arts. And I thought that would have been so cool because for me, I think that the better message would have been finding your people, finding those who get you, finding those who really understand you, because that's a message I don't think a lot of kids hear that is so important. So many kids feel alone just because they don't have a lot of people around them who like the same things they do. That was a crucial problem for me as a kid, why I didn't have a lot of friends growing up, just because I was a unique kid. I wasn't into sports. I wasn't the brainy one. Just like wasn't popular.
You should have been raised in the Northeast. Then you'd have been fine.
Great. No, I was raised in the Midwest, slight difference. And it wasn't until I got older and then, it wasn't until I got older and I found more people who like the same things that I do, I really felt like I belonged. And I think that's an important message for kids. It's like, it's not that you're alone.
Is that not in the present movie? Because I'm confused. Because you're saying
no,
that,
now
the
this movie
got radically changed, and I'm struggling to see how.
I feel the message for this movie now was more about staying with family. Strangely enough, this movie got the Lilo and Stitch message better than Lilo and Stitch did.
Yeah.
I mean, he gives up a chance to stay with the aliens because he's like, no, I'm going to go be with my aunt and I'm going to be with her. And yes, it's important that he's giving his aunt another chance and he's going to try to be with her and everything. But again, I feel like it kind of nerfs the original message that for the record, that's why there's three directors. This Adrian Molina was given a director's credit, but they only directed the original version before they got booted off. So they said they left. I don't know.
Before the chief clown organizer redistributed his resources.
Okay, I'm still struggling with your interpretation, and I'm really not trying to pick a fight with you. I swear to God, I'm not.
It's art, and there are different interpretations.
Well, fine, but you're saying like the movie isn't about feeling alienated and out of step and out of alignment with the world, and a wanting to be in a place where everybody knows your name. I came out of that movie, and that was the only message I got.
I apologize for Cleo. Well, I got that a little bit, but I feel that the ending message when he decides to go back with his aunt was the nerfing.
Okay, so you're not saying it wasn't present. You're saying it was neutered by his decision to then reject the people who knew his name and went back to his aunt.
Exactly. Okay. If they had done a better job building up his friend,
then let's table this because this is now going to become a part of a craft review, because this is now you and me debating the theme and message of the movie and the writing. and I think that's better served if we wait a little bit. So we're gonna pause, go back to our mutual corners, get some water, and clean up our bruises. And Robert's going to do the plot synopsis. Robert, do the plot synopsis.
So we're introduced to Elio, a poor young man with dead parents, because it's a Disney Pixar movie. You always have dead parents.
Dead parents everywhere! Dun, 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 dead parents everywhere!
Okay, that needs to be the thing you do next on session.
I will talk to Jesse. We may have to just do a single, like an EP or something.
I'm sure that you could go through with you could look up all the dead parents, and we could get like verses that run through the laundry list of the
I'm
deceased.
gonna text
The
Jesse
chorus
now.
is just. I would say the chorus just has to be Bambi's mom and Mufasa. Just.
I'm texting Jesse. You do your thing.
Okay. So he now lives with his aunt, and he's grieving, and his aunt doesn't know what to do with this child who's just dropped into her life. And he stumbles across an exhibit about the Voyager space program and goes, "Hey, do you really think there are aliens up there?" And she goes, "I don't know. Maybe. Come on. You shouldn't have wandered over to this closed exhibit that still has power." And we flash forward, and now
Captain Janeway. You did recognize that was Kate Mulgrew, right?
I did.
Good.
Voyager is my third favorite Star Trek series, so it's irrational, but I have a soft spot for it. Don't know what to tell you.
Very good.
So we flash forward, and Elio is now still a very odd child, trying to get abducted, making scenes on the beach, using his own language, getting into fights because he put up posters like, "Hey, if you have a ham radio, please let me steal it." And somebody showed up and went, "Okay, here it is." And there's a conflict that erupts, and his aunt's like, "Why can't you just be at least a little bit normal?" And they have a
Please
bit
stop
of
being an emotional terrorist.
And we wind up with this weird. So they wind up having a confrontation, and the aunt's like, "Okay, look, I'm a major in the Air Force, which means I don't have to run." Sorry, military humor, because my family has military history, none of which is the Air Force. So I have to make fun of the chair jockeys every now and then, just on principle. And I've got a job, I got a life, school's out. Why don't you go to summer camp? It's just a couple of weeks. Go make friends. Be outside. Let's try to do something that's relatively normal. And she expresses in a phone conversation to the great unknown that I'm going to try and get him enrolled there for a full-time boarding school thing because I'm pulling my hair out here, and this isn't helping either of us. So he gets, moody and mopey, and he goes to camp. And before he does, there's a big incident at the airbase where his aunt works, and there's some alien communication that's made, and he's the one who sneaks out of a garbage can to record a message to send back to the aliens. And the best and brightest aliens in the world decide, whoever got to the message first must clearly be the leader of Earth. So they show up and they abduct him, and he's very happy about this. And now he gets treated to all the wonders of the Communiverse, where all the best and brightest have come together to create the grand utopia. And they send back a copy made of cloning clay because somebody saw The Last Starfighter and thought that was a great premise. As one of the only people who've seen The Last Starfighter, I don't disagree. I'm just saying.
I have seen it multiple times. I love it.
Oh, that's a throwback reference. So the clone goes, and he's now kind of the perfect kid, and Elio is like, "Okay, look at all this wonderful stuff, and nobody knows I'm just an 11-year-old who doesn't know what he's doing." And you see, there's two people who have the opportunity to join the Communiverse now. One is the 11-year-old kid lying about his status, and the other is the warlord of blood from the Empire of the Grubs, who believes that the merging of the technology of the hippies and the military might of the Empire will create an unstoppable union and power in the universe. He's probably right. But the hippies in the commune are like, no. And he gets a little bit annoyed by this. So he shows back up and they're like, well, we're being threatened. The only logical thing to do is, as Monty Python would say, run away. Our plan is to flee to the farthest edge of the universe, turn all the lights off, and wait a few thousand years. We can wait out a bloodline or two, especially of insect beings. They have short lifespans. And Elio goes, wait, but if you run away, then I can't become a full-fledged member of the He-Man Woman Haters Club, and then I'll just have to spend all summer by myself not playing baseball with you. I am totally mixing those, by the way, and I know I'm doing it. And he says, I will negotiate with the brutal warlord.
You have spent way too much time with me.
I'm aware.
We are all
this
aware.
11-year-old stands up and goes, I will negotiate with the brutal warlord who has spilled the blood of countless beings across the universe. So he Googles how to negotiate, and he gets a few ideas, and he goes over to that ship, and the negotiation goes okay until the warlord goes, man, my son, he just wants to talk to me all the, like, I need to spend time with my kid, but I'm in the middle of an important negotiation. Could he not wait like 20 minutes? And Elliot goes, oh man, kids are the worst. I totally neglect mine as well. And now that you've implied this warlord is a bad father, his dander's up. And things go sideways.
I didn't relate to that at all.
It's like, you just said you're a bad father. I could say it. You can't say it.
I can insult my lousy kid. You can't insult my lousy kid. Is sort of how that logic goes. So Elio is locked away, but he's a clever little guy with godlike technology in the few different areas at his disposal. So he escapes and he finds a grub named Glorden, who is the son of our warlord. And the warlord loves his son. So Elio goes, you can be a bargaining chip. Because blackmail is the last thing I haven't tried on the negotiation list. And Glorden goes, yeah, all right, I'll go along with this because he's a child and thinks this will be fun. So they escape the ship, they go to the other one, and the warlord winds up swearing on his honor, because he's kind of a Klingon, that I will not bother the Communiverse, I will go my way, and I will continue my rampage, but you won't have to worry about me anymore. Just give me back my kid. And Glorden then goes, but I don't want to go back, because he's going to stick me in this mech armor that gives me incredible powers, but I don't want it, because I don't want to, I'm a nice boy, I want to dance, I don't want to box. Another random reference for you all.
I was gonna say, and another Monty Python reference. But father, I don't want to be king. I want to
sing.
No
singing. No singing.
Stop that. No singing. So Elio goes, okay, I can.
Up. Sorry, keep going.
So Elio goes, all right, we can use the cloning clay and we can make a version of you that will make your dad happy. He'll be everything he could possibly want in a son, and you can stay here and everything will be great. He gets a little window back to the real world, back to Earth, where he sees the clone with his aunt. And his aunt's like, oh, you do the dishes on time. And you're not running around like a terrorist. And you'd speak normal English.
Go check the pods.
And he goes, well, see, everything's better off without me anyway. Your dad will be better off without you. He wants the robot. The Stepford son will be everything to this man. So they make a clone, and the clone gets put in the carapace. But after spending about 5 seconds talking to the clone, the warlord's like, this is not my son. And he destroys it. And he looks at Elio and he goes, where's my kid? You lied to me. Now the truce is over and a fight breaks out. Glorden escapes on a diplomatic ship that can only be opened by Elio to Earth, somewhat accidentally. Everyone else finds out that Elio is just a small child and has been lying to them, and they send him through a portal back to Earth, and he's unhappy. But we also realize that the aunt has taken notice of the fact that her previously rambunctious, slightly unhinged nephew has turned into the Stepford nephew. And this is not right or natural. And she discovers that he's a fake, a fraud, an imposter. The body snatchers have come. and she won't fall asleep. Sorry, too deep into that reference. And she and the clone are now trying to make contact and get Elio to come back, and he lands on the ocean, and they have their bonding moment. And then the spaceship lands, and in the process of trying to take it to Area 51, where bad things will happen to Glorden, our intrepid heroes break in, and they try to save him, but it's too cold. His people are a hot-blooded tropical people. They like the lava. And Earth is too cold for him, and he's starting to die. Hypothermia, it'll kill you. I'm not joking about that. So they escape, they fly through the debris field that encircles the Earth, and they head back to the Communiverse, where they're all under lock and key by the warlord. And they show up and they drop off Glorden, and the warlord goes, "Oh no, my son is dying." And he tears his armor apart, and you're not supposed to do this. It's very bad culturally. But he's able to revive his son, and the two share a bonding moment. And everyone goes, "Okay, Elio, you can join this, place." And Elio goes, "You're offering me everything I've ever wanted in my 11 years of life. I'm going to reject it. And I will instead go back with my aunt to be bullied," sort of. He makes some peace with the kids who were mean to him a little bit earlier. I'm exaggerating for the sake of comedic effect. And he and the aunt go back to make a go of it, and the spaceship shows up to drop them off and announces itself in this big way because you had giant spaceship just teleported into Earth's gravitational field. And we end with one of the same recordings that we started with about what man's search for meaning and the possibility of life amongst the stars and our desire not to be alone and atomized into the sad state of affairs that we kind of are. And
See,
that's
that
it.
was
That's
our archival recordings of Carl Sagan, if I'm not wrong.
I believe so. And that's it. That's Elio. Unless there was a mid-credits scene that I missed.
There was.
Stop. The story you're about to hear has been told before. And we're going to tell the story again, but different. I did a TikTok. That's a TikTok sound. Yeah, she knows. Robert doesn't know what I'm talking about, but she knows. Here's the story of Elio, told just by the emotional arc. Here we have a child who's robbed of his parents by force of nature, a thing that this kid doesn't understand, and can't, because he's a small child, can't wrap his head around the idea of why would you take my parents away. And he is sent to live with his aunt, who is a busy businesswoman who doesn't need no man. And she is trying her level best to parent this child, but we have an adult who didn't want to be and shouldn't have been a parent, and a child who's mourning the loss of their parents in a body and a brain that isn't capable of doing such things. So already we have a lot of psychological conflict going on between these two people. And then you add on top of that, this child's now growing up in an area where he feels isolated, out of alignment with the rest of the world. He isn't fitting in, and he can't, because he's a child, yet again, he can't reconcile the fact that he is growing up without his parents, and he is looking for ways to cope. And because she didn't shove him into therapy right away, and I mean that both ways, both positive and negatively, he is trying to construct coping mechanisms out of whatever sticks, bricks, and straw he can find. I am being metaphorical for the audience's sake. So, because we are science and aliens adjacent, he grows up thinking, well, the best way to solve the problem of misalignment with the universe is to get off this forsaken rock and go to the stars. Much like Luke Skywalker, this should sound familiar. And so he starts doing things in order to get to a place, because who wants to go through their most precious, most highly developing years feeling this uncomfortable, feeling this itchy in your own skin? So he is dedicated sort of manically to trying to get abducted. And then he finally achieves this. And he's like, hot dog, after being bullied and feeling like my aunt doesn't love me and my parents were taken from me and everything bad that ever happened to me happened on this world. So I'll go to a different world and bad things won't happen to me anymore. And he goes on a journey, the hero's journey, if you will, for those Joseph Campbell fans. And by the end of the arc,
Who doesn't love falsified research?
oh, shut up. By the end of the arc, he comes to realize that, look, don't we all feel a little out of step with the world? There is no grand unifying everyone. There is no person on this planet who feels totally in line with everything and is in perfect harmony with the universe. We're all kind of out of step to one degree or another. And he comes to realize that through his own hero's journey. But he also, through this journey, finds out that his aunt does loves him just the way he is, and he loves her, and everything's going to be okay. And we all know each other just a little bit better now, as Saint Boromir told us. No, Faramir, damn it. Hey, take two. Saint Faramir told us. So he goes.
It's all right. You just slipped into Denethor for a moment there and just misattributed the positive thing to the wrong son.
Yes, I wish I had chicken and tomatoes, because that meal looks excellent every time I see it in Lord of the Rings.
True.
But I digress. We're so right, cherry tomatoes. Anyway, my point is, then he goes back home, not because he's rejecting the place where everyone knows his name, because he doesn't need it anymore. That's how I saw the movie. He didn't need the thing he thought he needed because he had made growth. That, to me, is what made the story excellent, besides the father and son stuff, which is a whole other bit of the story with the bug aliens. So, that's the only argument I'm going to give. I will now, the prosecution rests his case. If the defense would like to make her final statement on her interpretation of the movie, I will do so without retort. Alexis?
Again, I apologize for the dog.
I'll just go. Stop addressing the dog.
Like I said, my problem was I felt that the development of why he would want to return home was lacking. We do have a mid-credits scene, Robert, where he's hanging out with Bryce. They're playing with our ham radio, and they manage to communicate with Glorden. And it's a cute scene, but at the same time, I thought, well, I would have liked to have seen more of these other kids. It's like that he could have bonded with. Again, the bully that he communicates, Bryce, does a complete 180. It's like, oh yeah, the other guy's a total jerk. I'm a total nerd. I can't believe you're talking to an alien. I want to hear all about it. We didn't get enough of that character to begin with to understand the 180 that he turns. So it just feels very forced. But at the same time, I feel that the time with the aliens was very forced. The only character that we spend time with, who is easily my favorite character in this whole movie, is Glorden. I really enjoyed the scenes of Elio and Glorden together. I love just them playing and hanging out. The kid voice actors were phenomenal. And I honestly could just listen to these two kids talking about playing. There is such chemistry between the two of them, and I really enjoyed that. But I felt that they were trying too hard to establish, no, now he has his connection back home, and he should go back to that. It's like, well, then what was your message? What was your goal? What were you what is the takeaway for kids, for adults, for anyone? Again, I feel like Disney is spreading themselves too thin, trying to appeal to too wide of a demographic.
I will tell you this. The thing I talked about in my TikTok, and actually, so my method of kind of doing things now is I'll just kind of go a stream of consciousness into ChatGPT, and then we go back and forth until I've refined my message into something that's publishable. And what I started with when I was kind of going through my thoughts was, Coco works, one, because it's an excellently made movie, but it was cultural. It had folklore going for it. Everything about Coco was readily identifiable to people who lived in that culture. And then on top of that, it had relatability to people not in that culture. Encanto, same thing. And it had the added benefit of being a musical for those of you who like musicals. This one has a Latino kid, but this is culturally ambiguous. That could have been any kid. And my thesis was, because it could be anyone, it ends up appealing to nobody. Because now everything is the culture war. More so than ever before. So I think, while doing it with a Latino kid is perfectly valid, I think Disney sort of thinking ahead about, well, if we do it with a Latino kid, Latinos will come and see this movie. And you can kind of sort of most of the time bank on an ethnic group seeing a movie with ethnic leads if the movie is in and of itself ethnic. This isn't. This is science. This is ethnically ambiguous and mostly science fiction or science fantasy. And that doesn't draw ethnic crowds. That draws a whole other different crowd. And now we're back into 40 minutes ago when we started this podcast. So, I mean, I think your one statement that I do agree with is that they are trying to appeal to everybody, so they appeal to nobody, is true, but in different ways than you're expressing in your argument. What else did you like or not like about this movie, so we can move this on?
Again, I really liked a lot of the voice acting. I wish we could have spent more time with the other aliens, gotten a little bit more personality with them. I actually found out the kid who voiced Glorden did some other voice acting on another show I follow, which I was like, okay, that explains why I liked him so much. But it really got to me because those of you who know voice actors, you know, it is so much harder than people realize. And kids doing voice acting is 10 times as hard. There's a reason why most shows, if it's animated and they have children on them, they don't have kids playing the roles. They have adults who do, you know,
kid voices.
Yeah. So I love movies that take a chance like this and actually find kid actors who can hold their own as voice acting and give them a chance. I really gravitate towards that. So again, listening to Elio and Glorden, I just love listening to these kids.
So, pop quiz, Hotshot. As my son and I were leaving the movie, he actually, I think, asked an interesting question. Why is this movie not as appealing as Toy Story? Don't answer that question. That's not the question. But that's how our conversation got started. He's like, I don't understand what's the difference between this. By the way, he loved it too. We both did. But his whole thing was, why isn't this as good as Toy Story? In the sense of, like, it is as good as Toy Story, but why don't other people feel that way? Why isn't this doing well? Because we knew by Sunday this hadn't done well. Like, I hadn't read the Variety article. I just saw the headline, but it was like lowest domestic box office.
It's the lowest Pixar opening ever.
Right.
And it does not deserve that.
So not good. This was a financial bomb, but we walked out of the movie theater. I was like, this doesn't deserve people not seeing it. This does. And so his question about why isn't this perceived to be as good as Toy Story? One of the things I said to him was, and this is why I stopped you and I wanted your opinion because you brought up the voice work. Toy Story has, at Tim Allen at the height of his powers, and the evergreen Tom Hanks, it had an ensemble cast of killer voice artists and famous comedians. Don Rickles, for example, the guy who plays the mailman in Cheers.
John Ratzenberg.
Yeah, John Ratzenberg. Like, there was a lot of great voices in Toy Story, and they are distinctive. You knew what Tim Allen sounded like. You knew what Tom Hanks sounded like. You knew what Don Rickles sounded like. I didn't really even realize that was Zoe Saldaña until I read the.
I know. Yeah, me neither.
She sounded as indistinguishable as anybody else, and I have no idea who these kids are. They sounded fine. Their voice. I'm not disagreeing with you, believe it or not. I think the voice work was fine as well. Problem is, it's not in any way distinctive, and more to the point, going why I'm talking about Toy Story or Finding Nemo or some of the other really famous ones, is they had A-list famous actors coming in to do these roles, and this one doesn't. And I don't know if you want to react to that or not, or see why me and him had that conversation.
You're not wrong. Again, we have an ensemble cast, but we don't utilize the ensemble. I really think this movie should have been reworked to have more time with Elio on the ship with the aliens, and we should have gotten to know the other aliens more. The only alien that has a celebrity voice actor is the red stingray psychic chick, who's, oh God, what's that actress's name? I can't even. Yeah, she's not even that big of an actress. I can't even remember. Jameela Jamil, who we've seen in a couple of things. In fact, wasn't she just recently in Companion? Yeah, she was the girl in Companion. We just saw her in that. I would have loved to have spent more time with them, and yeah, gotten some more comedians to voice these other aliens, to really utilize this creativity, especially because one of the other things I did like about it, I love the design of the Communiverse. We talk so often about how a setting needs to be a character in and of itself. And I do love all the attention they gave to so many of the things that they do, like the little scenes of Glorden and Elio jumping off the waterfall repeatedly. How cute that is. Seeing all the different aliens walking around them. Again, I feel like there was an untapped potential of some real creativity they could have had fun with. So.
Okay. Anything else about the craft, or are you done talking now?
I do love Brad Garrett as the villain. Brad Garrett has proven time and time again he is an incredible voice actor.
Yeah.
In fact, I think this is like his 5th Pixar film,
give or take, yeah,
something like that. And he always knocks it out of the park.
He also just does a lot of work with Disney in general. I mean, he's Entangled, among other things.
All right, so I love this movie. This is going to end up in my top 10. It's not perfect, so it's elevated by the fact that it deeply touched me. I was telling Robert in our chat when the villain says to his son, I don't always understand you, but I love you. That's how I feel about both my kids. Now, Lily wasn't there at the time. She was with her mom, but I feel that way about both my kids. They are not in any way, shape, or form perfect, and I don't always understand why they behave the way that they do or think the way that they do, but they are my kids, and I would lay down on train tracks to save them, if I needed to. That said, so that element of the movie really touched me. Look, we all have our origin stories about how we don't feel. I still don't feel in step with the world. I'm doing fucking TikToks that should be books and having to take the same material and condense it to 3 minutes and then feed it to a world, that is responding to jiggly bits and people screaming in their cars. I don't feel in step with the world either, and I never do. And I don't know about Robert because he's never mentioned it before. But, we all have kind of a sort of self-centered thought about why does the rest of the world seems to be in sync and I'm out of sync, and the fact of the matter is we're all out of sync. It's a cacophony of noise on this fucking world. And I like the movie, and I think the movie addressed that well enough. And I think him going back home, I 100% disagree with you, which is okay, we're allowed to disagree with each other, that him going home nullified that message. I think it's as equally important to understand that just because you feel out of step with the world and want to go to Neverland doesn't mean at some point you shouldn't get over that. Go home, be an adult, be with your family, your found family, your chosen family, whatever, the people are who support you and love you, and go be a part of that. So I think it's actually very in line with a lot of coming of age stories of wanting to run away from home and realizing this isn't the answer and going back home and facing your fears and anxieties and everything else. I think the movie handled that all well. I don't have a problem with the animation style. This isn't my thing either. Like special effects and animation are your guys' thing, not mine. I don't care. As long as it doesn't look like Scott Keith, I don't give a shit. They were intelligible, readable creatures. It was bright and pretty looking. It flowed. It had it literally had almost a fluid nature to it. So none of that stuff bothered me. I'm not looking for photorealism in my Pixar movie.
I don't need photorealism. I'm just real sick of Jelly Bean Mouth.
Fine. That is also entirely a you thing and everyone who thinks like you. I don't care.
There has been a lot of backlash to the over-rounded style that we've been seeing in a lot of movies and TV shows.
For some odd reason, it doesn't bother me. So I can't critique it. Things I can critique.
I'm just going to plant the flag right here. And in 18 months, when you get here, you can see the flag.
Okay, so mark this moment as the point where I told Rob it doesn't matter to me. So in 18 months, when I'm screaming about it, Robert can go, that's right, Mark. Everything stinks. That was a Simpsons reference, referencing the critic.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, things that didn't,
Metatextuality, yay!
things that didn't work with the movie. These are minor nitpicks, but the movie is not the world's best. I've seen worse, but there's some pacing issues with this movie. There were definitely parts that, especially for a children's movie, don't move fast enough, and I found myself getting a little listless at times. Could have been also that I was tired, but I've heard other people kind of say the same thing, that they were bored, and even Jonas even said he was bored in places, and they were like, "Come on, let's move this along." So there was pacing issues. There's some minor wonkiness with the plot in places. Not enough that I think it throws the whole movie off the track, but there's definitely a couple of times the plot hits a noticeable bump, and it's like, if you're looking for stuff to complain about, it's there. But if you're passively watching the movie and this appeals to you, you probably won't even notice it. That said, Robert, what did you think?
This was a miss for me. Now, in a lot of respects, it's a perfectly acceptable movie. But there's a handful of things for this that did not land for me. And listening to, the discussion about why the production being as sort of ping-pongy as it was makes a lot of sense, because there's a real lack of cohesive vision for the arc of the main characters. The middle of it completely falls apart if we're just talking about those arcs. And that's a bit of a problem for me. One of the things about these, boy, everything sucks. Everything doesn't suck over there. I'm going to go over there. And then you find out everything over there ain't great either. And so let's come back. And the quintessential story for this is Dr. Seuss. It's one of my favorite Dr. Seuss stories. It's called I Had Trouble in Getting to Salisaloo. If you've never read it, take the time, go find it.
I'm really surprised you didn't go with the slightly lower hanging fruit of Peter Pan, but go on.
Because I think I Had Trouble in Getting to Salisaloo is a better story than Peter Pan.
I'll allow it.
Sue me. The Peter Pan sort of has this problem, but not really, because Wendy, but we'll get back to, we're going to wind up going on again about where they went wrong with Wendy and Peter Pan, and we already had that discussion. So
multiple times.
All right, so I had trouble getting disconnected. Go.
So one of the things that's important about this is the realization that there is no great place to go. Yes. You cannot get away from your problems by going somewhere else.
Correct.
This is very, 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 very badly expressed in this movie, to the point where at the end, when he chooses to go back with the ant, you kind of raise an eyebrow. Like, really? It feels more like they were setting up the ant to go, no, this is where you belong. I'm going to go back and come see me whenever you want. But these are your people. This is your place.
Pause for a second just so I can say this, and then you have the floor. This movie is now worse written than I thought, because it's the same movie and we're all seeing it so wildly differently. And sometimes that's a good thing, and sometimes that's not a good thing. This is more of the writing of this is so muddied, it's signaling differently to different people, as opposed to it's vague and so open to interpretations by various people. The latter is good. The former is bad. Go.
There's a scene in this movie that is an important scene for this kind of story. It's the scene where Elio and Gordon are talking, and Elio goes, I used to think Earth was the problem, but maybe it's me. This is an important beat in these stories where I don't like the way things are. I'm going to leave. And you realize that your problems follow you because you're still there. Important story beat to this thing, right? The problem with it in this movie, and this is where like my real disconnect with the arc of this movie comes in, there's no reason for him to reach that conclusion. There is no inciting incident for him to be that self-reflective in that moment. Everything is going great for him. He's escaped the alien ship. He's got a new best friend. They've come up with a plan so they can stay best friends in the commune. And he thinks his aunt's great. Everything is going his way.
It's misplaced in the script. It should have come after the fuck up with the kid and the alien and the Klingon aliens are about to blow the Communiverse to shreds.
That's the conversation he needed to have with his aunt after he got dumped back on Earth.
Correct.
And it's in the wrong spot, so it doesn't land. And because it doesn't land, but it's clearly intended to, disconnect. Big disconnect. And the only thing keeping me halfway invested in the story at that point was the relationship between Gordon and his dad. Because, thankfully, give the writing some credit here, they didn't want the alien warlord to be a monster. They just wanted him to be a dad. And a kind of a single dad at that, because the mom's always off fighting the blood wars. And their relationship, I think, because it's kept so simple, the relationship between Gordon and his dad works better than anything else in this movie. The rest of it starts to struggle a little bit because it's the direction and the vision for the character of Elio is a bit unfocused. And that leads to things just not quite working out. Like, there's supposed to be the big kind of emotional beat that coincides with our action set piece when they're escaping Earth and have to dodge all the space debris. But none of that lands because, the nerds have aligned behind Elio doesn't land because he's done no effort to try and align himself with the nerds.
I'm glad you mentioned it because I'm so focused on the emotional beats that I forgot that's the stupidest part of the movie. And it was the part of the movie that my son and I were both rolling our eyes about. my son's, I promise I'm going to give you back the floor, but my son's really funny reactions to some of this. He's like, why is it when they're suddenly connecting with all the ham radio users, the woman starts in Japanese, she says konnichiwa, and then speaks perfect English?
Yep. That's a big one.
And then we were both like, the rate at which they are able to do the kind of mathematical gymnastics to get them what they need so they don't crash into the debris, and then their physical reaction to it was inhuman. There's no fucking way they survived that debris thing. But I don't care enough to. It's worth commenting on because we're doing this sort of deep dive, scratching through all of the craft elements. In the moment, I let it pass because the heroes needed to have a hero moment. But it was forced and beyond the pale of even anything in this movie that seemed plausible.
I didn't understand why they didn't just have Melmac. Nice Alf reference, by the way.
Because the Earth kept moving and he was out of radio range. Keep going, Robert.
So, yeah, there's another bit where we kind of lost momentum and the payoff was not anything because nothing about it was earned or set up properly. The relationship between Elio and Gordon is another thing that I can't say it falls flat because that would be an overstatement. But I said to you, and I think I said this to my mom after we got done watching it, because again, she's kind of screening some of these movies for her sort of nephew, who's about the age where you can start taking him to things like this. I said this movie's about like 50% E.T., 45% The Last Starfighter, with a smattering of a Monster Calls. Because, and you can't get away from this, when you kill the parents like that, a giant chunk of what the kid is going through now is grief. Misplaced, misunderstood, the grieving process. And that's a big thing to try and tackle. Doesn't mean you can't do it. Don't get me wrong. But there's no resolution to his grief by the end of this, because he's happier now in general is meant to take the place of I've started the healing process from the death of my parents.
It's true. They don't deal with the parents at all. So you're right. a lot of his emotional journey is as shallow as a puddle of piss.
And his relationship with Glorden, which again is kind of meant to replicate some of Elliot and E.T., it winds up rushed because they didn't have time to like really hash out how to perfect some of this stuff because of the production issues. So instead we get, oh, they have decent chemistry in their meeting. Good start. Then we get a montage that goes on exactly as long as the plot demands because the aliens are like, well, get my son's carapace ready. Well, that'll take some time, exactly as long as the plot demands. In fact, now go and do. And I'm sorry, that's contrivance and bad writing. And it somewhat keeps their relationship from really sort of blossoming into a close friendship the way that the movie kind of assumes from that point on. The relationship between Elio and his aunt is it starts off being painted too broadly. I don't need to see the minutia of their lives necessarily because this is a kid's movie. Like, let's be realistic here. I'm not doing a Scorsese. But if he's going to react strongly to seeing his clone do all the things that he feels he should be doing because he told him to be normal, then I kind of need to see him not doing it. Like there has to be the contrast here to get the payoff that you're trying to reach. And it's all just assumed. And it's not to say that there's no funniness there and there's no chemistry between the voice actors. Like I'm coming across as a bit more negative than I mean to here because that's kind of my job. That is the role I fulfill. I'm sorry. I'm the heater. And
I do agree with. Oh, sorry. I thought you were done.
No,
sorry.
go ahead.
No, so I agree with you about the pacing, the rush with the whole abduction thing. I actually remember when I first saw the trailer and it was showing him wanting to get abducted. I thought we were going to get like he's a comic book nerd and he's read all these comics or sci-fi stories about alien abductions, and he read one. It's like and how they made him like king of this planet and everything's great or something, and that's what started it. But yeah, it's like okay, so he heard Captain Janeway, and now he wants aliens to abduct him. There is clearly something missing. In the story
I will say the kind of add on to what you're saying and then give the floor back to Robert. There are other reasons to not like this world than my parents died.
Yeah.
And I wish somebody would tell Disney that.
Yeah. But these days I saw a statement about why this movie's struggling that is deliberately snarky. But I'm going to repeat it here for the sake of like good snark, there's a kernel of truth to it. There's two things that Pixar needs to do to kind of try and fix itself. One is at least some visual differences in your style. The fact that everything they do kind of looks the same. You can have a visually similar style while still having movies that are distinctive. Like Toy Story and like The Good Dinosaur. They're both clearly Pixar, but they don't look the same. Finding Nemo does not look like Cars. That's another way of putting it. There's elements of the like Pixar aesthetic that are there and that are recognizable. But there's also you can also have stylistic distinction between the different movies. Disney used to be good about this because Mulan is done with like Japanese watercolor aesthetic and Beauty and the Beast is very clearly not. Like we could have differences here. So having everything kind of look the same is not great. And second, the fact that most of your writing is now like boiled down to a Tumblr blog post about the time you made tortillas with your abuelita. Again, it's a bit reductive and overly snarky, but there's a kernel of truth there.
Anything else, Robert?
I anticipate that in about 3 months, there's going to be a bunch of people online complaining that why did this movie flop? It's great as they watch it for the first time on Disney Plus.
Like I said, there were a lot of people on my TikTok saying I'm not going to the movies. It's prohibitively expensive, and I don't want to beat this particular dead horse because the horse is beyond dead. But you have to work extra hard now to get people to come out to the theater, which is funny because I had a couple of comments. I don't want to waste the time and bring them up, but there were a few things that like there's no reason ever to go to the movie, and I'm like, Minecraft did good. How to Train Your Dragon's currently doing well.
And 28 years later had a darn good opening.
Yeah, like people are going to the movies. Let's not mischaracterize this. They're not going like they did in 2019, and they're not going to see things unless it's got a proven track record of some kind. Minecraft is recognizable. How to Train Your Dragon is recognizable, and everything else is doing well by scale. So things that are made for not a lot of money don't have to make a lot of money.
It does have more competition as a family film, though, since we have How to Train Your Dragon, and Lilo and Stitch is still in theaters too.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing about that. I heard this a while ago on I think it was one of Brandon Sanderson's podcasts, because again he's like looking into getting some of his stuff adapted. Netflix hit him up, and that kind of wound up dying on the vine. But he knows about the business of entertainment. He's also tight with the Russo brothers, so take the following for what it's worth. The theater used to be a captive audience. That used to be the only place you could go. And we've kind of just gotten away from that. And the model has not caught up to the fact that the business model has not caught up to the fact that the market is not what it used to be.
Don't we say that every week?
Well, it just needs to be said again sometimes. Right? This was also a big thing. The other reason this got brought up was
the market is broken and no one knows how to fix it has become this podcast's Pledge of Allegiance, Robert.
I was going to say, at this point, one of us needs to make like a fucking card and just hold it up repeatedly during every show.
All right. Say your last 10 words and then I'm going into the money.
This movie is better than its box office return is leading you to believe, but this is not in my top 10 at the moment. I might wind up filling something out for me down the line. We'll have to see. We're halfway through the years also. But I'm not trying to poke the bear here, Mark, when I say the following. I do rate this a little lower than The Good Dinosaur, but I also rate The Good Dinosaur a little higher than most people. So
I think every time we've talked about The Good Dinosaur, you are on record as having liked it more than the average bear, and certainly more than I did. So
I liked Good Dinosaur. I thought it had some of the best life lessons of any Pixar film.
You two should start your own podcast.
Look, it had the issues it had when we reviewed it. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm saying for a long time, everyone kind of went, man, this sucks by Pixar standards. And I think time has been a bit kinder to it than other Pixar movies, but Yep.
All right. With that said, here comes the money.
We're in the money. We're in the money.
There's like extra steps now, and I don't have enough time for this to flow the way I want it to, and it's annoying me. It's annoying me. Don't be annoying. I'm done waving my hand around now. All right. On a budget of 150 million Marvel monies, oof. I hadn't looked at this before. That is my first time reaction to it. This thing has earned, at the time of our recording, $34.8 million. I don't have a bomb sound anymore.
We'll find one.
Yeah. As of June 22nd, Elio has grossed $20.8 million in the U.S. and Canada, and $14 million in other territories, for a worldwide total of $34.8. The U.S. and Canada, Elio was released alongside 28 Years Later, and was initially projected to gross around $30 million from almost 4,000 theaters in its opening weekend. The film made $9 million on its first day, including $3 million from Wednesday and Thursday previews, lowering projections to as low as $20 to $22 million. The film went on to debut $20.8 million, finishing in third behind How to Train Your Dragon and 28 years later, becoming the lowest opening weekend for a Pixar film ever. What a world, what a world.
And unfortunately, this is just going to reinforce the idea for Disney. It's like original ideas bad, rehashing and making another Frozen sequel good.
I don't need
Sequel.
Cars 4.5. I really don't.
I don't either.
Sequel mania. What you gonna do, brother, when Cars 4 drives over on you?
You guys did see that that Disney Plus is releasing the live Broadway show, like what they did with Hamilton.
Of what?
Frozen, the Broadway. You know, Frozen was made into a Broadway musical, right?
If I may quote something I've been hearing a lot of recently, where's a drive-by shooter when you need one?
So
That was good. May I steal that, Robert?
By all means.
Thank
So
you.
my son walked out of something. I don't remember if it was this or something else, and I said, "Yeah, that's doing well." And he was like, "I hate this world. Like, why? Like, I don't want any more. Whatever it was like, I don't want more of these." Oh, it was How to Train Your Dragon. That's what it was. I was like, because that's now remembering the context of the conversation. We're walking out of Elio, and he's like, "Why is this movie doing badly? This movie was great." I'm like, "I know, son, I know." And he says, "But why, Father? Why?" He calls me Father. And I said, "Son, because it's up against How to Train Your Dragon, and How to Train Your Dragon is recognizable IP, and it didn't change in any way, shape, or form drastically from the animated, so that made everyone happy, and so they're rewarding their good job with their money." And he looked at me and he said, "This is the worst timeline. I don't want more of these remakes. This is the lowest form of entertainment." And he tore his shirt.
It's not quite the lowest, but it's low.
Yeah.
But he got there at 11.
It's not TikTok clips.
Shut up.
That's a comment on TikTok, not you.
I'm watching you. Always watching.
It's not our fault that we have to, work towards the lowest common denominator to try to make money.
Speaking of the lowest common denominator, Deadline Hollywood's Anthony D'Alessandro, Pamela McClintock, and words are hard, of The Hollywood Reporter, and Variety's Rebecca Rubin attributed the low opening to competition from How to Train Your Dragon and Lilo and Stitch, which is what we also said.
Yeah.
D'Alessandro, McClintock, and Rubin also acknowledged the challenge for original Pixar film succeeding at box office during the post-COVID-19 pandemic era, though they noted the film could show staying power in later weeks, similar to Pixar's Elemental. Yeah, I mean, there's always the chance this does better with good word of mouth. If we'll get to that shortly. It's getting good audience and good critical reviews. So maybe this does the quiet rise that Elemental did. I guess we'll see in the next few weeks.
So the question is, does this have an appeal to international audiences? Because that's where Elemental raked it in. It didn't do that great in the States, but when it was released overseas, it really kept going.
Well, there's no ghosts, black people, or gays, so the Chinese should like it just fine.
I don't know. The Chinese aren't that hip with the aliens.
Oh, really?
I don't know. I assume.
The Chinese like anything besides other Chinese.
Who knows?
Hi, Alexis. You seem uncomfortable.
I'm just watching our ratings and our number of reviewers just getting smaller.
Oh, no. Whatever people we lost, we gained 10 more for the kind of people that like that sort of commentary. Anyway.
Look, man, the Chinese government banned Attack on Titan because it was about a small island opposing giant monsters trying to destroy them. And they went, "Is this Taiwan?"
All right. The weekend that was, How to Train Your Dragon was number 1 for the weekend, for the second weekend.
Really good hold.
There, yeah, 56.8. Not bad at all. And we said it was going to retain the number 1 spot. We didn't think Elio had a chance. Could you imagine if they had kept the counter programming that was supposed to take place here? By the way, in that universe where they don't move How to Train Your Dragon a week prior, I had scheduled Elio first. Like, we would have done Elio at the same time as How to Train Your Dragon, and once again proving we have absolutely no touch on the pulse of the culture. Given a choice between two things, we will choose the bomb every time
Almost.
with alarming frequency. 28. Speaking of bombs, 28 years later,
Hey,
number 2.
for the record, 28 years later, already hit its production. It has already grossed its production budget.
Elio debuted at number 3. Yeah, pretty
And
significantly
also,
bad opening weekend.
as a minor, so first of all, 28 years later, outdid Sinners in early ticket sales.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it holds that much or not remains to be seen. And if you're curious about Mark and I reviewing 28 years later, stay tuned on like August 11th. We will be doing a long road to ruin for the 28 days, weeks, and years movies.
That is correct. Very good, Robert. Hey, it took you 15 years, but you finally learned how to do marketing and plugging. I'm proud of you. Now, please don't take the fact that I said something nice to you and throw yourself through a window or tell me about something horrible thing you did to offset it. Just take the compliment. Good. All right. Lilo
I'll wait. It'll come, but it doesn't have to be right now.
Oh, boy. Lilo and Stitch fell from 2 to 4. Mission Impossible, 4 to 5. Materialist, which my parents told me was good, 3 to 6. Ballerina. I have to make a point of saying this. So I have released TikToks and clips and all kinds of stuff related to our Ballerina review. I am in possession of our analytics. Do you know, Robert Winfrey of the Screaming Boy podcast, that every single thing that we put out complaining about Ballerina has been met with thumbs down? Like, not a lot of comments, but definitely a lot of people not liking the fact that apparently we're bullying, as near as I could tell, at poor little Ana de Armas.
She has people who enter into weird parasocial relationships with her because there's a segment of the population that finds her attractive.
Do you know that for a fact? Is there like a thing that you've witnessed with your elven eyes that there's a parasocial thing going on between weirdos and Ana de Armas? Because that's much more interesting than anything I'm about to talk about.
It's not unique to Ana de Armas.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people get annoyed when I say Margot Robbie's not that good and was never actually a draw and all that fun stuff.
Right.
I just thought that in this day and age, you're not allowed to insult an actress or a woman of any kind.
That too, because they've hang on, because there's an army of people who have weird fixations and think that by standing up for these women that somehow this karmically increases the opportunity of them getting their penis touched.
I mean, that last part I agree with. But listen to me. You said it. I'm allowed to make it weird. Now listen. I'm thinking it's exclusive to Ana de Armas. Like, we picked on this poor dear child, and all of these, people are coming to her aid because she's a delicate flower. But what I'm hearing you saying is that if we had dragged any actress, it would have been met with this sort of resistance.
Okay, not literally any, but
pretty ones, young pretty ones.
Young, pretty international ones.
Oh, you have to be foreign, do you?
The accent helps.
I see.
As long as it's not Israeli.
So we can pick on ugly American women all we want. Is this kind of like you can't say anything bad about anybody except fat people thing? Is that what we're kind of digging into here?
I don't know, but again, like, if
what
you
are the rules, Robert Winfrey? What are the rules so I know who to bully?
Just bully us and we'll call it a day.
Oh,
look, one, bully whoever you want. I don't care.
You're usually with me on these things. You just keep going.
2, if you had cut up our stuff for Babylon, where you and I talk about how much Margot Robbie is not a benefit.
I did.
Yeah,
That's out there. But okay, I posted it on TikTok. I don't think at that time I was reposting things to YouTube.
Yeah, there's things there. The YouTube side of that in particular, man, the YouTube warriors are just weird. And hey, anyone watching on YouTube, God bless you. Thank you, first of all.
I didn't run into this problem as much on TikTok. It's YouTube where all of our shit's like downvoted.
Yeah, again, YouTube in particular. Look, TikTok is viewed as entirely disposable.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, people haven't realized that YouTube Shorts are equally disposable, so they still try to mess with them to improve their algorithm, or people who hold opinions they don't like to try and mess with them. And It's weird, and it's kind of sad.
So we may be aggravating equally as many people on TikTok, but it's scrolling by so fast, nobody gives a shit, and they just move on. Whereas there's an intentional, hey, you hurt my penis feelings, and now prepare to die.
Yeah.
That's amazing. We live in the dumbest world.
We
Yes,
really
we do.
All right, moving on.
That's why we're commanded to live in the world, not be of the world. But
Alrighty. Speaking of which, Ballerina 5
speaking of
7.
making fun of Anna de Armas,
Yes. Karate Kid Legend 6 to 8. Final Destination 7 to 9. Kubera debuted at number 10. Brokeback Mountain had its 20th anniversary. Oh, look at you, Brokeback Mountain, you adorable thing. You can check out our review of Brokeback Mountain on a triple feature Sean and I did a few years ago for Pride Month. And this is Pride Month after all. So go check out our review of Brokeback Mountain on triple feature right here in the Rattledge Broadcasting Network. Smooth as butter. Yes?
I would say, just looking at formerly 8, now number 11. Have you taken Jonas to see the Phoenician Scheme yet?
I have not had time.
No.
Utshab debuted at 20. High Five 23. Apocalypse Now also being re-released.
man, if I could have found a showing of that around me, I would have gone. I love that movie.
I don't remember what brought it up, but I told Jonas at some point I have to show him Apocalypse Now. And
he's 11.
Well, yes. Okay, I know why. It's like I say it and then I remember why I said it. So, what's his name? The Godfather, the actor.
Marlon Brando.
Marlon Brando, thank you. Marlon Brando doing Apocalypse Now the musical in The Critic.
Oh, yes. Watch me do a hula dance to shake the egg rolls from my pants.
Yes. Like old Fred Burks. He laughed at that but didn't know why it was funny.
Yeah.
And so I had to explain to him Marlon Brando and Apocalypse Now. And he was like, I must see this movie. And I'm like, well, Charlie, don't surf, and you have to be older.
Yeah, man, you're respectfully, you're way too young to get Apocalypse Now.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's later in life. Speaking of which, Familiar Touch 28, Dogtooth also 15. A lot of anniversaries in the movies. Dogtooth 15th anniversary at number 30. Shanghai Blues. Oh boy, that's a 2025 re-release. That debuted at number 31. Marley Matlin, Not Alone Anymore, and that was the weekend that was worldwide, baby. Ninja still number 1. Minecraft number 2. Lilo and Stitch creeping up there. They're at 911 million.
At this point, I kind of doubt they pass Minecraft. They might, but that feels like a little bit of a stretch.
I was gonna say, which is worse though, that Minecraft movie does better or that Lilo and Stitch does better? I mean, either way, I feel like I'm gonna puke.
I don't care.
It's all bad.
Look, I'm. There are far greater things in Heaven and Earth Horatio than the Minecraft movie to be mad about. So, if we're broad people, what I'm mad about is that a bunch of boys who are not parented decided that this was the thing they were going to decide to destroy the theaters over. But the movie in and of itself, if it brought other than them people joy, I'm not going to get mad at it. It's fine. Lilo and Stitch, 9/11. Mission Impossible has risen to number 4 at 540 million. And Robert, would you like to do your weekly? My God, look at that drop.
Yeah. Number 3, Lilo and Stitch, 911 million. We then drop, 400 and what, 60, 70 million to get to Mission Impossible.
Yep. It's a big chunk.
I mean, the fact that we are, also almost, 100 million separating number 1 and number 2. Actually, it's more than that. So number 1 is 1.88 billion to 954 million. So, just a small, that's almost $1 billion difference. Good grief. That's 900 million difference. Look, my math is not mathing today, guys. I apologize. So we got an almost double to get from Minecraft to Nisha.
Yeah.
Then 2 and 3 are kind of close. Then we drop precipitously to 4 and 5, which are a little over 400 million each and still losing money. And then we drop again to 380 for another money loser. And then we drop to 3 and change for Sinners, which is profitable at 350 million because that was an appropriately budgeted movie.
So the hangover sobering news about how they have to now admit Thunderbolt was not the success they were touting it as when it first came out at the beginning of May has been hilarious to watch. I liked Thunderbolts for the most part, even though I was not in the world's greatest mental health space at the time. And that was only 2 months ago. But my point is, when Thunderbolts came out and there were all of these, trades doing their level best to write propaganda for Disney, and now now they can't. They would lose whatever intellectual credibility they have.
Man, the fact that they made poor Olga Kurylenko go to all of those press events when her character dies in like the first 5 minutes.
If they paid her, it's easy money. That's what I'm going to say. She gets to look pretty.
I just feel bad for her.
I guess. Moving on. Captain America: Brave New World. Jesus Christ, Thunderbolt is not going to pass Captain America: Brave New World from February.
Not even close.
Yeah.
How to Train Your Dragon's probably going to pass Sinners.
Yeah,
almost certainly.
Sinners is at 363. How to Train Your Dragon's at 359. Final Destination's at 280. And Snow White hanging by a thread there at 205. Marvel's money. The Marvels.
End of July, Snow White is going to be out of the top 10. Superman and or Fantastic Four is going to kick that thing out.
Have you guys seen the
Jurassic World is going to get to it first. Fantastic Four, I have started to be very less than thrilled, less than optimistic about.
In all fairness, I had completely forgotten about Jurassic World, so
that's fair.
Point.
Jurassic World's
so did the studio.
Jurassic World's going to make money. I hear it's tracking well. I don't hear anyone really complaining about it. I'm sure it's you guys might not like it. It might bother you. Certainly Robert and I have reviewed all the Jurassic World movies and Jurassic Park movies, but it isn't a damaged property in the way that we talk about other things are. So I think Jurassic World will be just fine. Superman. It's a weird story from what I'm hearing, but I've heard so let me go back a step. There were rumors that between the reshoots and some of the stuff coming out of the test screenings that this picture's in deep doo-doo and they are having to do a lot of work to try to reconfigure it, which if you follow the patterns of movies that we talk about that are very similar, those movies don't end well. I don't need to rehash the whole history of this. Just if you're fucking with a movie to the point where you can't lock it 6 weeks before release, you're still messing with this thing. It's probably going to end up being not great. That said, my understanding is that in terms of pre-sale tickets, it's tracking well. I want to add to this that I addressed this on TikTok. I said, I did what everyone else did. Cosmic News, my ass, is reporting this. There's a rumor on it. I didn't stress test this as well as I should have. But, early days of me manically making TikToks with my own face and voice. So I kind of, I incorporated a lot of what you and I had talked about already, Robert, but with also what I had seen that day without stress testing it. And I was like, okay, this thing's in trouble. And that's not great, given that this is supposed to reboot the whole stupid franchise. And it would be like the fifth bad, regardless of it's this universe or that universe, it's the fifth bad DC movie in a row in terms of financial in terms of ticket sales. Remember 2 minutes ago when I said we're being attacked online for picking on poor Ana de Armas? You know who else is attacking us?
Oh, the James Gunn sycophants.
Yeah, her boyfriend's online. What are you doing, Alexis? Will you please get your people under control? I put out just a thing saying, hey, if any of this is true, this movie's going to be in trouble, and that's not good. And these people attacked me, Alexis. Your boyfriends attacked me and said, this is the best part, and Robert may actually crack a smile at this. They were like, you Snyder bros, you Snyder people, you and your Zack
Did you
Snyder
point them to our review of Rebel Moon where we had nothing good to say?
I couldn't stop laughing. I was like, oh, you have got the wrong person.
Look, man, you and I might defend Man of Steel, right? Because I think there's some good stuff there.
Yeah.
But boy, are we not like Snyder bros in the slightest.
No.
Yeah, there's actually been, and for the record, I am looking up these articles because I want to have these on hand when we review Superman. multiple campaigns by Snyder Bros to attack this movie. It is hilarious. The
We have
lengths
real
these people
problems
are
in the
going
world.
to.
We have real problems in the world, but the army of gun stands and Snyder stands, like ready to Braveheart at each other.
You know what?
is-
I say we let them Braveheart each other and just make the world a better place by reducing the surplus population.
I
Wait,
believe there was
Robert. I want you to channel little Ken Watanabe for me.
Okay, I'll try.
Come on, the line from the Godzilla movie.
Let them fight.
Thank you. I needed that.
Oh, you got yours in, so let me get mine. As Saint Bart Simpson once said, we need another Vietnam. Thin out their ranks a little. And luckily,
Men used to go to war, Mark.
yeah, and
Now we argue about James Gunn's crap versus Zack Snyder's crap.
it's a listless world full of bored people. What can I tell you? Anyway, so yeah, I stepped into that fucking quagmire because I, to this day, don't know what's going to get a hit for me and what's going to get what's not on TikTok. So, like, you know, here's a post on Caitlin Clark. You monster! Here's a post. Here's a post on how this world is collapsing. Jared Diamond style. Crickets. Here's a post on, you know, I don't think the Superman movie is going well and they having to do a lot of reconfiguring. You monster! Ugh. My God. Anyway, enough about Mark laments his online life. So anyway, that was the weekend. That was. Next week is Megan.
Ugh.
Did you guys see the picture I posted on the network chat of the Megan popcorn buckets?
No.
That's going to
It
get used for things other than popcorn.
It looks like a They Live mask. It's crazy.
I have absolute. So Robert,
Hmm.
Alexis, do you have a novel on hand or some work you need to do? Good. Okay.
Go ahead.
Hey Robert, do you remember Fandangoing?
God help me. Yes.
Okay. Fandango was not a popular wrestler. Fandangoing was popular because people are idiots.
Pro wrestling fans in particular.
My son asked me, he said, Father, he called me Father. He said, Father, did Megan do well enough to warrant a sequel? And I said, well, financially, yes, son, it did. He said, I see. I understand. I understand how math works. I'm not a girl. And then he said, Father, does
Still
anyone
calls you father.
does anyone actually like Megan? And I said, son, people like the Megan dance. They don't like Megan. They may not have liked even the Megan movie. But the Megan dance was popular. Let me tell you the legend of Fandango. This whole movie that's coming, you can put your phone back down now, Alexis, and rejoin us in the conversation. I can't tell what that is.
It's a Spirit Halloween banner being put around the earth.
That's funny.
That's why I showed it.
Other than the first one was financially successful, the idea that there's anything actually popular about Megan, about like as a movie, I think is the people at Blumhouse and Universal not really understanding the audience that went to go see this movie.
I'm going to push back on you there, Mark, because
Oh, you are you?
there are many ways in which you are a more worldly, depraved individual than I. I say this with love.
No argument. I know what I am.
But I have spent more time in the terminally online space.
Please
Hang on.
continue. Please continue. But it's funny. I swam in that waters. It resulted in our Thunderbolt show, and then I changed jobs, and I haven't looked back because I can't take it. It's funny that you're Aquaman of that space.
So I retreated into the internet in my 20s as part of a coping mechanism for my depression.
Mm-hmm.
For a lot of reasons. This went poorly, by and large. Because the internet is the internet. So I say this with love and with the sincere hope that you maybe don't understand the reference I'm about to make to why Megan became so popular. But the lollies loved Megan.
I don't know what that means.
You're better off not.
Okie dokie.
It's also worth pointing out Megan was popular because it got released in January, which is usually when movies go to die. So it managed to strike a nerve when there really wasn't a lot of competition around it.
Capital point, old man, and I'm very glad you made it. It's the only thing I've ever agreed with you on, because I said the exact same thing to Jonas. I said they took a fuck you, it's January movie, thought it was popular because of Fandangoing phenomenon,
Yeah.
and then decided to do a sequel and release it in the middle of the summer blockbuster season. These people are insane.
Yeah. I suppose I should probably explain what a lolly is.
Don't
do
dear
tell.
God.
It comes from, it's Japanese, so brace yourself. It's the legal workaround to being attracted to children.
Oh no, please stop.
It's something that looks like a child,
Yeah.
but hey, it's a 10,000-year-old dragon that this is the form it assumes when it's human.
Okay, so if you're a
But we're good.
lolly, you're into things that look like kids but aren't actually kids.
It comes from, let me put it this way. Lolly comes from Lolita.
Yeah.
So
Robert, I think that's all you had to say to him.
This-
I
So
should have.
Megan-
You're right. I should have gone there first. Mark would have understood the reference.
So Megan 2.0 is a dog whistle for perverts.
Yeah.
Mark, all lifelike androids, especially ones that are female, regardless of age, are dog whistles for perverts. Some of them aren't even dog whistles.
Every robotics engineering step has come with the side question of how soon can we fuck it?
Well, that much I knew, and I'm supportive of. My issue here is because Megan is a very specific thing, which I don't want to talk about because, demonetization, as funny as it is to say, so we could get demonetized. I don't actually want to be demonetized. So, or you commit a, violation that gets us
Well,
flagged.
yeah, but Mark, you see, it's not that because it's not a real person.
Fair enough, but my point that you're kind of pointing to from like 50 yards away is that what you basically just said is because it did well in January and people like the dancing, but also people want to fuck robots that look like Megan, we should make a sequel and put it in the summer because it'll do well because of all the things I just said. To which I react, ugh. That makes me feel dirty, and I hang out in weird places Robert doesn't want me to talk about.
It doesn't help that they've basically taken what was supposed to be kind of a horror icon, and now they're made her like an action star.
Yeah. Oh yeah, this Megan movie that we're gonna have to review on Monday looks like it sucked diddly-ucks. Like when I told Jonas that we're going to see it before I take him back home on Sunday, he was like, "Why must you torture me?
Fair question.
I like going to the movies with you, but God, there are limits."
Yeah.
He's gonna spend the next week on the roof with the Christmas lights out, going, "Aliens abduct me."
All right. With that,
Look,
said,
all I know is that the last time when we reviewed Megan, that was literally the night my Bell's palsy came back. So I'm not even gonna try. I'm not going near that.
That's a great review. This movie is so bad it gave me Bell's palsy. Perfect.
Yeah.
Put it on a t-shirt, Mindy. Make a TikTok out of it. And on that note,
are you ready? No! I said, are you ready?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
yeah, there it is. I mean, pretty universal acclaim here. 84% on the tomato meter, 91% on the fan meter. And if we dig into it, there's nothing to dig into there.
Yeah.
All audiences, negligible.
Negligible.
Yeah. So the AI writes, catapulted by its theme of building self-esteem, Pixar's latest cosmic wonder, Elio boasts a fanciful world of original creations to dazzling effect.
Okay, building its theme of building esteem. I did not get that at all.
You don't understand. The kid doesn't like himself in the beginning, and then he likes himself by the end of it. Lobster.
Has anyone told you you've been hanging out with me for too long?
You.
Yes.
Frequently.
James Berardinelli of Real Views. Elio feels less like Pixar and more like the kind of generic films being churned out by rival animation companies.
Not entirely wrong.
Yeah, it's like I hate that I kind of have to agree with that.
Manola Dargis of New York Times top critic. By that woman looks like everybody in like trying to make fun of the liberal woke people in VO videos on TikTok. Yeesh. By turns.
Stereotypes exist for a reason, Mark.
I'm sorry, I was just looking at the picture. I'm like, oh, it's Principal Trunchbull.
You're not all that off.
We are not the same. By turns appealing and dreary. Take
Drearily.
5. Oi, woman. By turns appealing and drearily familiar, this movie offers the expected visual pleasures and characters who range from the gently exaggerated to the hyperbolic. Nailed it.
You deliberately exaggerated your word count there because you think writing for the Times is important. That's a former newspaper, and now I would barely use it for toilet paper.
Speaking of someone I would barely use for toilet paper, Jeffrey Harris of 401idiot.com.
That is
That was
not
too
a kind segue, Mark.
No, but it was too perfect of a segue to miss.
Jeff is our friend. We love Jeff.
I just wish you'd been able to level it at someone other than Jeff. Like, Lola Lamb Chops really needed to be there.
Yeah, Jeff got that only by his.
Yeah, no, that was literally whoever was coming up next in line was going to take that one.
Yep. It's all fun and games here, Jeff. All fun and games. Pixar has made another genuinely heartfelt, poignant, emotional, and imaginative adventure that captures the childlike awe and wonder and imagination of space travel with a classic sci-fi sensibility melded with a profoundly sweet, familiar message. Very nice.
Man, that is a terrible run-on sentence.
Don't you tell him that. Let's see. Rotten Tomatoes, your whole thing here is still broken.
I really wish they'd go back to
Yeah.
their previous thing of just actually going to different pages.
I'd take if they just loaded below you instead of sending you to the bottom.
Or that.
Lisa Johnson Mandel of AtHomeInHollywood.com. Even though Elio will likely rank closer to the bottom of the impressive Pixar output heap, young children will enjoy it,
Probably
and it has
true.
some nice messages for them. For all its cloying, candy-coated sweetness, at least it won't give them tooth decay. Ugh.
You tortured that metaphor a little bit too much.
Admittedly, I will say if you have little kids and they want to go see it, there's nothing in this movie that is bad for little kids.
Yeah, for the record, if you're concerned about this movie is I don't want the message to be present, the message is not present in this movie.
The future ex-life partner of Alexis Hana, Grace Randolph of
Why
Beyond
would you
the Trailer.
do that, Mark?
Because it's fun.
No, that's not fun. That borders on being a hate crime.
Yeah.
So,
And that's a war crime. Seriously, you want to do some enhanced interrogation? Put her so on an endless loop and just blare it at them instead of heavy metal.
they will tell you where all the bombs are. A surprisingly beautiful and moving film. Great for families with so many.
Okay, don't do it every time.
But also something adults can appreciate. What if I do it on a different word?
Please don't.
This movie is fun and
The
creative.
moon.
This space
It is actually a must.
adventure is actually a must-see in theaters.
Okay, your theaters was warranted because she decided an exclamation point was necessary there.
All right. The future ex-life partner of Alexis Hana, Nell Minow of Movie Mom Top Critic.
Who?
Don't worry about it.
I was going to say, I'm sorry, is this someone new we've started insulting and I just didn't get the memo?
Oh, no, I
Little
pick
bit.
at her almost every week now.
And when we find her, we tend to throw balloons at her, yes.
Okay.
Pixar's latest has everything we love about Pixar.
No.
A heartwarming story with endless imagination, charm, and wisdom about an endearing character and the fears of joys of being human.
No. This movie does a piss poor job about the joys of being human, even taking her stance on its own face.
The future ex-husband of Alexis Hana, Dan Merle of Dan Merle.
Okay, why am
Reviews.
I the one to all the exes? Will you freaking marry someone to Robert?
No.
He can't find them.
Also, it's been a while since you've been on the show, so I'm making up for lost times.
Oh, for God's probably
Hey.
not a good thing. This is my last show for a few weeks.
He's just gonna keep going.
Oh yeah, that you just made this so much worse for yourself.
Oh, fuck me.
Speaking of which, Elio really takes off in the second half and transforms from a solid animated movie into a great sci-fi adventure.
No.
Admittedly, the second half is better. Like I said, I think the movie does pick up when he gets to the ship and he meets Glorden. So I'm actually going to agree with that.
Oh God, this isn't even really an adventure. I hate the misappropriation of that word.
Resident stuffed animal who comes to life when you leave the room. Travis Hobson of Punch Drunk Critics. Elio has too much in common with 2015's The Good Dinosaur. Another movie cobbled together until it was left a shapeless, lifeless mess. Get him, Winfrey.
It's a little strong there. But I mean that's just like going a bit too far with points we made, so I can't get too mad at him. But I'm gonna make sure his taxidermied corpse is more secure next time so he can't get to the computer.
The future ex-life partner of Alexis Hana, Amy Nicholson of Los Angeles Times, top critic.
Oof.
The galaxy above is a fractalized freakout, a psychedelic rainbow of delights that makes you think that more than one animator has spent time grooving to fish in a Berkeley dorm.
You got high when you saw this, didn't you?
You spent too much time high in your sad life. If that's where you decided to go with this.
She was fucked up in that theater, so and Usher had to tell her to go.
But I'm stuck in the chair.
But I have no place to go.
But I'm just ahead.
Is the snack bar still open?
Lady, I don't care where you go, but you can't get to the street, then get to the sidewalk, then you're the city's problem.
Oh, yes. Friend of the show, William Bibiani, the rap top critic.
Deep friend of the show. Good friend of the show.
Oh, yeah. Best friend of the show. We're his favorite podcast. That is all true. It's all about radical acceptance, but can only talk about the real world application of its message and general metaphors. So people who don't actually accept weird, different kids won't have to think about how wrong they are.
He's not wrong about that.
He over-identified with this movie, and it bothered him.
Probably, but at the same time, the fact that this movie's messaging is so mixed about what it wants Elio to be like doing and overcoming, that we start with, he's a weird kid, and we kind of don't get beyond he's a weird kid in any sort of meaningful capacity is a giant problem with the writing.
The one line that we get from the Stingray alien, it's like, you are unique, and sometimes unique can be alone. It's like, and I remember actually there's like, could you have expanded on that? Because that's a good message. It's like, why didn't you expand on that? That could have been a good theme, but you just shoehorned it in.
Yeah.
The man
at the end, it got shoehorned in.
The critic that Alexis Hana patterns herself after, a mentor to Alexis Hana, the Obi-Wan Kenobi to Alexis Hana's Luke Skywalker in terms of film criticism, Jeremy Mathai of Slash Film. At its best, Elio feels like vintage Pixar, and arguably its best original since 2017's Coco.
Oh,
fuck you.
In no world, in no way is this better than Soul.
Yeah, exactly.
Minimum.
Yeah.
I don't think it's appreciably better than Luca, but that's because I'm me.
I don't think it's better than Elemental.
I refuse to acknowledge that.
I don't think we should. I think the more we give it attention, the worse it gets. However, he was nice enough to put a comment in, so I'm going to put it on screen.
We love you, Zach.
I will relay the pun for those listening who can't see the video. Our good friend Zachary Strobel says, I'm sorry for being late. I didn't plan it well.
Speaking of
that the feedback I'm going to get is that doesn't seem like a cricket. And it is. God damn it. I'm tired of hearing about it.
For the record, Zach and I are calling dibs on Spaceballs 2 because since we had to do History of the World Part 2, he and I get to do the next Mel Brooks thing.
You can fucking have it. I'm not
Yay!
giving that man any more money after History of the World Part 2. I don't trust him.
Mark, we are reviewing Spaceballs 2, The Search for More Money, and you know it.
Anyway, folks, we had a lot of fun. We had a lot of laughs. But now it's time for Alexis Hannah to show us her ass. Alexis Hannah, why don't you do the honeysuckle hustle? And there we go. There it is, sister. Dance for me.
Dance, Tony, dance with me. You're fine.
I don't need your pity. I'll dance for my money.
Okay, yes. Honeysuckle Rose. Wait, I'm sorry. Am I supposed to be doing this, or do you want me to
Oh
actually do
my
the-
God! You have all the grace of a three-legged mule. Yes, do your plugs.
Well, I didn't know if you wanted me to plug upcoming shows first. That's usually the way we do this.
Speak.
Honeysuckle Rose Creations, where fashion meets fandom at the intersection of geek and chic. Getting ready for KC Crypticon this weekend. It's a horror convention.
Woo.
It'll be awesome. We got a ton of the cast members from Terrifier. We're getting a freaking Police Academy reunion with Steve Guttenberg and Michael
That is
Winslow.
a horror movie.
Yeah, and yes, Michael Winslow is alive.
Is he going to be in the Naked Gun reboot?
That would
Every
actually
time
be
I
great.
see every time I see the Smurfs trailer, which each time my son and I both collectively, ugh,
Yeah,
we keep thinking sound effect Smurf is Michael Winslow.
I know, right?
Yeah.
It's like
And
if
I don't-
there is a god, that's
and-
Michael Winslow.
And I don't want to check online because then the algorithm will find me, and I don't want that.
Ask Jesse to check for you. He's its friend.
By the way, he only responded with the laughing emoji about the song idea.
Okay, fair enough.
Also Warwick Davis is coming to Crypticon, so
That's
yeah.
fun. He's a
That's
nice
always-
guy.
Yeah, it's always awesome. So we're going to be breaking out our Pick Your Poison collection made from limited edition Clue tokens, and we're doing a brand new collection with a set of Clue tokens from the Nightmare Before Christmas special edition. I just wrapped up the special Sally necklace last night with beads based off of the various patterns of her dress. I am very proud of it, and I can't wait to debut it. As always, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, Screw You, Twitter, and TikTok. And we have stores on Etsy and Handmade at Amazon. And I am currently doing the research on whether or not I have the inner strength to do a Shopify store so I can connect it to my TikTok so it'll make uploading products just a teeny tiny bit easier. So, we'll see if I've got enough caffeine to get me through that. Again, that's Honeysuckle Rose Creations, the intersection of geek and chic.
Alrighty. Yesterday, myself and Jesse, wrong tab. We reviewed All-Star Superman, which is in part one of the 27 books serving as inspiration for James Gunn's Superman movie that'll be out in the middle of July. So that was a fun
No,
time.
James Gunn's Superman is too close to the Injustice Superman for my taste.
So anyway, we talked All-Star Superman last night on source material. The raw video is on our W2M, but he will be putting up the show closer, the audio version of the show with edits closer to 50% less snark, closer to when the movie comes out. That said, no show tomorrow. Wednesday, no show. I'm taking my kids to go see Clutch. However, Thursday is our final show, assuming everyone actually shows up, to close out Pride Month. And Robert, I don't know if you've seen Milk, Kinsey, or Lizzie to be on deck for this.
I try not to watch that many movies all in a row about, pedophiles, but, that's just me.
I don't think Harvey Milk was a pedophile, but,
No, he completely groomed and sexually abused a minor.
Oh, did he? Oh.
Yeah.
So I don't know anything about the guy except for the movie that I saw, and Sean Penn's great in that movie. That's all I
Sean
can tell you.
Penn, for a period of time, was a very, very good actor.
Yes, he was.
Now he's a catcher's mitt.
So you will not be on deck for that. So hopefully Sean will be there for that show, and we'll be able to close out these movies a year in the making. But yeah, our final Pride show of the month is Milk, Kinsey, and Lizzie, as in Lizzie Borden. Next week, Sunday, no show, but Friday. I forgot to. That's why. Friday, we are returning to the sessions, and this week we are not making fun of one of my friends through song and punishing them for bad things for bad behavior. Instead, we're gonna go have some fun. We're gonna take a old source material gag reel and turn it into a dubstep. So Jesse's hit it Darren line tickled my funny bone and deserves to be celebrated in song, as all things do on Sessions, podcast where Jesse and I take entirely private information and turn it into songs against people's will and wishes. Great podcast. You should check it out. It's also our little corner of the world where we can talk about the what's news in the world of artificial intelligence. That's kind of what that podcast has become. It's literally like
you guys talk AI news while making AI art.
Yes, that's more or less what Sessions turned into.
You know what? God bless. It's a good time.
Nobody else gives a fuck. But I have a good time on it, and I have a good time with Jesse. So we make some fun songs. That said, a week from tonight, as we mentioned, we've got Megan. Jason Teasley will be back to tell us what he thought of the movie. And
M3gan 2.0.
Yeah. And then we've got The West Wing Season 6 on Thursday, July 3rd.
When it all starts to go downhill.
Yes, sir. You said that about last season, and I ended up liking it. So God only knows what I'll think about this season.
Trust me, 6 is this is when Sorkin has left fully.
No, Sorkin left the previous season.
Yeah, 6 is where things start to go a little bit haywire.
Yep. I'll take your word for it, but whatever. All right, Robert.
What?
Plugs.
Oh, plugs. I cover mixed martial arts and professional wrestling over at 411mania.com. WWE SmackDowns on Friday, UFC events on Saturdays.
Hang on, do you have any work that you have to do this Saturday? Like, are you doing Night of Champions? Are you doing a UFC event? Are you able to watch the Jake Paul fight?
No, I'm watching UFC 317.
Well, I'm going to watch Jake Paul.
You are a godless heathen.
We've already established that.
Look, I accept the fact that you are just like the raccoon of the combat sports fandom, or a possum, depending on
eats garbage and hisses at you when you get too close.
Yes, that would be correct. Yes.
Yeah, completely correct. Yeah,
I tend to decided I'm more of a truffle pig.
No, because that would be finding the good stuff. And in the combat sports world, you do not.
Oh, okay.
You
That's
do not want
when
it.
it comes to film, I'm a truffle pig. When it comes to combat sports, I am a raccoon.
Yes.
I accept your characterization of me. Please get on with your fucking plugs, you obnoxious piece of shit.
So to answer your question, no, I will not be watching a sideshow affair where Jake Paul beats up another elderly person after doing a sell job, convincing everyone that, no, this time this guy might have a shot. I've been on that merry-go-round before. I got off. You should too. I will be watching and covering.
I love my weekly chastising by you, by the way.
You brought it up.
Fair.
I was not going to just beat you over the head with that.
I understand. I handed you the mallet.
You did.
And said,
I will hand it back to you.
What are you going to do with it? And you went, what I always do with it. Bad Mark.
I'll hand it back to you now. I'll be covering UFC 317, headlined by Ilia Topuria and Charles Oliveira for the vacant lightweight belt, one of the better fights you can make in the sport right now. Co-main event for the flyweight title, Kai Kara France tries to win the belt from Alexandre Pantoja. It's a pretty good card on paper, so, come by and check it out. If you want a preview, you can listen to the 411 Ground and Pound MMA podcast that I did yesterday, where I reviewed the UFC's debut in Azerbaijan. Regional conflict be damned, because Baku is right near the Iranian border. So I reviewed that. And then I had to talk about, the 15-fight stretch of decisions between two events in the UFC. That was a thing. Then I talked about John Jones retiring and what that has done to stuff. So I go on that one for a little bit. And so 317 coverage. 411 Ground and Pound MMA podcast. If you want to listen to my ramblings about the wide, wacky, wonderful world of mixed martial arts, next week, Mark and I will groan, grumble, and gripe our way through a completely and wholly unnecessary sequel.
I will be fandangoing in protest. Da, 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 da.
That wasn't Fandangoing.
I don't remember what fandangoing was. What was it?
It was this one.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of
Oh,
like
it's,
that, yeah.
it's not Michael Winslow.
Oh.
Oh.
Thank you for
It's
taking that.
it's a YouTuber who goes by the name Spencer X. He is an award-winning beatboxer.
Well, then he can just wind up in the tornado before.
Award-winning beatboxer is the phrase that pays here on the Rattle Legend Broadcasting Network. And with that, for Alexis Hayner and her many wives, for Robert Winfrey and his many mallets that he hits me with, I am going to do some TikTok reads so I have them in the can for tomorrow and I don't have to waste time having to redo them. Be well, be safe. I'm on the wrong one. And behave.